Hola, amigos. The human body is nothing more than an interdependent matrix system that communicates with and amongst itself all day long through electronically charged molecules. You are an ever-evolving and fluctuating organism that is self-regulating and supercompensating. You are nothing more than a bioelectrical field that is hell-bent on one function: survival. Switch Up Book Club, episode 7. You already know this is going to be a lot to unpack. American football physical preparation, how to optimally prepare for your best season ever, all bound up, by Buddy Morris, aka Coach X, and Ryan Williams. This is also edited by James the Thinker Smith. Anytime you have a nickname as a strength and conditioning coach, I would say it's a big deal, but I don't want to be calling these guys strength and conditioning coaches. They want to be called physical preparation coaches. They want to be called stress managers because there's a lot more to it, especially with James Smith and his ideas of strength and conditioning coaches, tactical and skill coaches being more global. That's neither here or there, all right? But this is a group of de facto coaches who are not fond of the way we do things for the most part, and I'm in pretty good alignment with where they are and my agreements with what they say. So it's an American football book. Why am I going over American football when I'm not coaching American football athletes right now? I have in the past, and I've used a lot of this, and I was referencing this recently. This has a lot to do also with just how to run fast and how to perform, but a lot of it is vital for strength and conditioning coaches to understand the actual bioenergetic demands of their sport. In football, if you're a lineman, do you need to be running 300 shuttles? No, I would argue, and Buddy Morris and co would also argue, that football is lactic aerobic and we don't need to be running 300-yard shuttles. It doesn't make sense, right? Bioenergetic demands of sport. The closer you are to the ball, lineman, the more strength you need, and that's not an absolute statement, but that's just a generalization. And the further away from the ball you are, say a wide receiver, the more speed you need. That's not saying that the guys who are on the line, who are bigger and have more of a strength emphasis within what they're doing, that's not saying that they don't work on their speed. That's also not saying that the guys further away are not working on their strength, even though their skill is more speed, agility, and change of direction. It's very important to understand that a lot of things go on, and there's it's multifactorial, and multiple variables go into training athletes. So if we're just talking about football, like even with soccer, just running laps for the sake of endurance. I was having this conversation the other day with one of my athletes who plays lacrosse. She's finishing up her senior year and she's going to play in university, and was asking why we are taking breaks in between our max effort sprints. We were running 20 yards, we were actually doing fly-ins, and the idea was we're sprinting 20 yards, so every 10 yards, we're gonna rest 1 minute. So she rested 2 minutes in between, and she's feeling good and fresh. And the idea is that when you're playing lacrosse, you walk a little bit, then you jog, and then you sprint, and you walk, and you jog, and you sprint, and then you run, depending on where you are. She plays offense, she's a attack, and she hangs out behind the cage a lot. So I need to know how she plays and how her individual stylistic approach matches up with how she plays. Now, this is a book review, a book club review, but what this also does is give you a better picture of what I'm going to get into in a second. So when we're looking at the bioenergetic demands of sport, we need to know a couple things. Number one, football philosophy and tactics depends on your coach and your sport. This translates to every sport, right? So unless you're playing chess or you're cheerleading and things of that nature, but in football, the longest play is like what, 5 to 7 seconds? So why are we doing 25 yards up, 25 yards back 6 times for a 300-yard shuttle, right? So is your offense pass heavy, run heavy? Are they doing a triple option? Like, this is a little known fact. I was a wide receivers coach for a local high school, as well as a strength and conditioning coach, and we ran a triple option. We ran a veer offense, and it was hilarious. I actually did not coach any games with them, but I coached them in their practice when the regime changed. It was wild, okay? Triple option, but we only use 2 options. So 4 minutes in, 5 minutes in, and we're not even gonna get into the nitty gritty here. This is gonna have to be a part 2. Okay, so really quick. Lactic, aerobic, you gotta know your energy systems, that's important. That's not the meat and potatoes of this book. However, biodynamic considerations, position versus position requirements, I'm suggesting you read this book as one of the top 5 books you read because it takes a lot from super training, it takes a lot from different coaches. I already mentioned Charlie Francis, a lot of the Russian coaches as well. Vergashansky is in here with special strength training and practical manual for coaches. All the Moscow friends, they're all in here. Physical preparation theory and methodology, goals for training adaptation, lots of charts and different things and science. So if you're really struggling with that, this is a good digestible way. And this really reads how Buddy Morris talks also. So I know that James Smith, who edited this book, this is a important note. He edited this book for Buddy and Ryan Williams is in here as well. But Buddy and James were coaches at Pitt for a long time, so they know each other. So of course James would know Buddy's style of talking and communicating. So methods of bioenergetics, biomotor abilities, work capacities, elastic sprints, methods of strength training, max effort, methods of maximal effort method, dynamic effort method, methods of developing maximal output. I'm just scanning through this because it's very important that we understand that a lot of this stuff is taken from other sources and manifest in such a way that it's digestible for you. Methods of special strength, repeat method, repeatability of high quality movement, interval method, strength endurance, serial method, accumulate a large volume of high quality work, repeat serial method, restructure and stabilize. Philosophically, and I know Buddy doesn't like the word, philosophy or philosopher, but it's important to note a couple things. Number one, my philosophy when it comes to training a football player goes as follows. Training is a long-term process. Training must be specific to the bioenergetic requirements of the sport. I've already harped on that multiple times. Training specific to the positional requirements, also mentioned that before. Look at volumes of speed work. Obviously, skilled guys can handle a lot more volume than big guys. It takes big guys a lot longer to recover between bouts of intense activity. So as a coach, you have to prepare to adjust the training volume to the player and his positional requirements. That's common sense that people skip over and glance over. They should be getting into it more often. Look at the individual, that's also important. And then what he also says about Western training that I agree with, we are over volumized in this country. All components must be raised constantly throughout the year. The problem is everybody just wants to keep the same volumes for all the components, but you can't because they all compete for the same CNS resources. So as a coach, a coach has to be intelligent with their programming and training. Just because you write it on paper does not mean you have to do it. That's also very important. Your athletes will display to you what they can't handle on a daily basis because training readiness fluctuates day to day. So as Charlie Francis pointed out, if you start hearing heavy foot contacts during speed work, it's time to shut it down. Just don't continue because you want to do what's on the paper for the day. That's ridiculous. Programming adjustments. One of the things I thought was funny, if you get bored reading a program, if you get bored reading it, or you get tired writing it, just think how your athletes will feel doing it. Med ball work is important, and then lastly, a lot of work in between here. There are many sheets in here for training stuff. So different blocks, CNS high program sheets, very detailed within this as well, going through warm-ups, A, B, CNS low program sheets. This is block B. So within the diversity of learning about what's going on within American football physical preparation by Buddy Morris and Ryan Williams, the science is in here, the practical application is in here, but also the sheets. It's all spelled out for you. If nothing else, I would get this just based on the training at the end, the high-low method that we talked about in episode 6 with the Charlie Francis training systems. This is a gem and a doozy, and this is a book that I've had to put down multiple times and just like rub my head really quick and then get back into it. And for me, with the amount of influx of information and media that I take in, especially with reading, that really happens to me. So sometimes I'll read a page and I get it and it's good and I can move on. With this, I've had to read a page and say, hold on, go back, read it, interpret it again, take a breath, do the old noggin rub, and then get back in there again and read it again. So I actually took a long time reading this. I'm still referencing it for other sports. this also goes into not specializing early as a youth and diversifying as much as you can. So this book is why I'm good at what I do. I'll put it that way, right? And the philosophy there within is also another reason why I excel at what I do. It's good to have confidence, right? So I would get it. This is also a book supplied via PDF by James Carr. So I just want to say thank you for that as well. He's the PDF plug. We'll put it that way. Hashtag PDF plug. So thanks again. Do this, get this, read this, live this, breathe this. All right. Hang it up on your wall. Live, laugh, and then this. Whatever you want to call this. All right. Ciao.